Today on Aqua Kids.
Come and join the Aqua Kids on their adventure as they uncover hidden messages from the past.
Aqua Kids, doing what we have to do. Saving our earth, land, air, and sea. All we gotta do is keep it green and blue. For me and you. Aqua Kids.
Hi, welcome to Aqua Kids. I'm Hannah Jones. In my extensive world travels, I have always been fascinated by ancient messages left by long-lost civilizations. Thousands of years before emojis and even pen and paper, people would leave carvings and paintings on cave walls and rock surfaces. The good news is you don't have to travel the world to see these ancient wonders, just a creek off the Susquehanna River, like where we are today. A friend of mine, Paul, and I are out searching for some right now. Let's go see if he'll agree to take the Aqua Kids back in time. Hey, Paul. You found anything yet?
Hi. Not today, but I'm always looking.
Absolutely. This is an old friend of mine, Paul Nevin. He is a petroglyph researcher, and I'm wondering if you might agree to take the Aqua Kids on a trip back in time today and show them some of the things that you found on your quest for ancient civilizations.
Oh, sure. I'd love to. In fact, there's an amazing site right up the river from here that the kids will love.
Great. Let's get them in kayaks.
So where are we now?
This is Big Indian Rock. This is the biggest rock in this part of the river. Before the dams were built, it stood 25 feet above the riverbed.
Wow.
Drew, this is the first rock that's touched by the morning sun. So it really stands out in the river.
So Paul, what's so special about Big Indian Rock other than the fact that it's big?
Well, the rock sits in a special part of the Susquehanna River. The river's 444 miles long, but this 25 miles stretch is the part of the river that really drops, it really falls, and that's why all the power plants are located here.
Why is it called Indian Rock?
Well, Indian rock because the rock contains carvings that native people made 800, maybe 1,000 years ago.
Anything significant about this location?
Well, on this 25-mile stretch of river, there's actually 3 major concentrations of rock art sites. We don't know exactly why they made the petroglyphs on these rocks, but they obviously considered it as a special place.
So for those of us at home, what's a petroglyph?
Well, a petroglyph is an image that is carved into the surface of the rock.
In stone, how do they do that?
Well, you know, they didn't have metal tools, so they would have to use stone tools to carve the petroglyphs. This is the hardest piece of bedrock in this part of the river.
Wow.
It's granitic mica schist.
Granitic mica schist. God bless you.
This granitic mica schist is a sedimentary rock that has been metamorphosized, but this rock is infused with quartz, which makes it really resistant to erosion.
Oh, here they are.
Whoa.
They're carved only about 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch into the stone, so when the sun's not shining at a low angle, they can be very hard to see.
So have they always been this shallow, or have they eroded away over time?
Well, we've been able to take measurements of casts that were made of these about 100 years ago, and they really haven't eroded significantly in the last 100 years.
So what are these carvings of?
Well, on this part of the rock, they are thunderbirds and human figures. Now, they're a little bit difficult to see But we can use a technique that I call the magic sponge technique, and they show up much more clearly.
Wow.
Oh yeah, you
Look
could
at
definitely.
that. That's a thunderbird there?
That's a thunderbird. And this figure here, we interpret as a medicine man.
Okay.
And that's because he has these two antennas, and Native people depicted medicine man with these antennas that represent that they had contact with the Creator.
Wow.
Now, did these carvings mean anything?
Well, they certainly meant something to the people who carved them here. They wouldn't have just done them capriciously. It was thought in the 50s, 60s that they were just prehistoric graffiti. But now we understand that they have more meaning than just graffiti.
So what is the connection of these petroglyphs with the spirituality of nature?
Well, in many native cultures, everything has a spirit. The rocks could be known as the grandfathers. They tell the stories of the ancient past.
Wait until you see what's next.
Now it's time for Aqua Quiz with your host, Drew Cruz.
I'm your host, Drew Cruz, and now it's time to test your knowledge with Aqua Quiz. A petroglyph is an image that's carved into a rock. This carving can produce a visible indentation in the rock. These ancient symbols from past civilizations have been found all over the world. Do you know the age of the oldest petroglyph ever discovered in North America? Is it A, 2,000 years, B, 5,000 years, C, 14,000 years, or D, 17,000 years old? We'll have the answer after the break.
Aqua Kids will be right back.
So have you come up with the answer to the oldest petroglyph ever discovered in North America? The answer is C, 14,000 years old. On August 15, 2013, the state of Nevada reported finding petroglyphs dating back 14,800 years. These could date back to the first people settling in the Americas. Wow, that rocks! Get it? Rock carving? Rocks? Never mind. I'll see you next time with another Aqua Quiz.
Welcome back to Aqua Kids. Those petroglyphs on Big Indian Rock were so outrageously cool. But I think you have some more up your sleeve, don't you?
Oh yeah, that was just a taste. Just up the river's a terrific spot.
Let's go take a look.
Drew, we're now at Little Indian Rock. It's a much smaller rock, but it's got many more carvings on it.
Really?
This is one of the best, if not the best, examples of rock art in the Northeast United States.
Why is that?
Well, because rock art is not that common in the Northeast to begin with. And again, this is a special place.
All right, well, let's take a look at the petroglyphs here.
Look. This is a great example of a thunderbird.
Wow. It's so clear. It's deeper than the other rock.
It is deeper than the other rock, and notice this one doesn't have feathers hanging down. And I think that it might represent the spirit, that aspect of the Creator that's responsible for rain. Drew, right here are a couple of really significant carvings. They're 9-foot-long serpents.
Wow. What's their significance?
Their significance, although we can't see them very well today, if I were to stand here on the first day of spring or the first day of fall, the sun would rise directly in line with where these serpents are emerging. Wow. This is a great one here. It's a man with big hands and big feet. And just below it, there's a serpent. And this serpent's different and unique here because this one's actually carved in relief. The stone is carved to either side of the figure.
Do you think all these carvings were made at the same time?
No, I think that these were done on special occasions and were probably done over generations. So Lily, what do you think this carving is?
It's a bear track.
You're right.
There seems to be an awful lot of petroglyphs here.
Well, there are a lot of petroglyphs here, and that's one of the questions, the things that we wonder about. The Susquehanna River drains 275,000 square miles, and all of the rock art sites, virtually all of the rock art sites in the drainage area are on this 25-mile stretch of river.
Thousands of petroglyphs all over this one spot.
Over 1,000 have been recorded in these 25 miles.
Thanks, Drew and Lily. Okay, Paul, if we come across a petroglyph, what's one important thing to remember?
Well, remember that for Native Americans, these are still considered as sacred sites. So treat them with respect and make sure that they survive into the future.
Aqua Kids will be right back. Welcome back to Aqua Kids. We're here on Octorara Creek, and if I'm not mistaken, some petroglyphs were recently found here.
There were, just up the stream from where we are. Drew and Lily are up there right now.
Let's go see what they found.
Hey, Dave. Hey, Charlie. Hi. So I hear you guys have something cool. Could you tell us about it?
Yes, around 20 years ago, fishing the Octorara Creek, I came upon this rock, and it had unique carvings in it. I contacted the state archaeologist, Charlie, and he came out recently and looked at it and confirmed that it is indeed a petroglyph.
So Charlie, what does this mean?
This is probably the first confirmed petroglyph find in Maryland in 20 years, at least. So get a lot of calls from people saying they've got petroglyphs, go out and look at them, and they're just lines or grooves in a rock made naturally. And that nature can mimic petroglyphs, so it's very cool to have found this very real petroglyph site.
Can I see what you guys are talking about?
Yes, sure. Let's grab a couple umbrellas and go.
All right. Well, luckily the weather's turned to our favor and we don't need these umbrellas. So let's go look at the rock. So what do we got here, guys?
What does it look like?
A couple of holes.
That's a big basin up there. And then you've got this trench through here, and then you've got cups.
Interesting.
A bunch of cups.
What does this mean? What's the significance of the cups?
There have been a number of explanations offered for that, but the truth is we don't know. One of the most, these cups are probably the most frequent petroglyph style on Earth. Every petroglyph site anywhere on Earth has cups, but of course it's the most simple of the petroglyph forms too, so it's easy to make and it's the most common.
One thing I've noticed about this petroglyph is that there's a flow to it. You can almost, here we go, see when you pour it in here, it flows to the different pools. Do you think that has a significance?
I think it's a composition for sure. They're connected, but I don't think it's a functional connection so much as it is a spiritual connection. I'm not sure what it means, but it sure is talking to me.
Wasn't that cool?
All life is sacred. That nature is a beautiful thing, and often we forget it. I was raised in the Aztec tradition, and my father taught me that as indigenous people, we are the original caretakers of the land. You know, we were the original activists before that word even existed. And as soon as I started learning about the crisis, about the problem, I realized that this world that I loved, this world that I was connected to, was being destroyed. And you know, my immediate response was to take action.
If we unite together as one people, one voice, we can do it. Woo! Let's go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Climate change! Let's go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Climate change! Let's go!
I've been on the front lines of the climate and the environmental movement since I was 6.
Hello, my name is Shuteshka Matthew. I'm 6.
We've worked really hard to get the attention of political leaders, of world leaders, to get them to wake up and take action. It's not going to come from waiting for world leaders to take action, so that's why we're right here, right now. That's why we have built this campaign. That's why we have put together RISE. RISE is an acronym. It stands for Rising Youth for a Sustainable Earth. You know, we're really specifically looking at climate solutions. We feel that climate change is one of the greatest issues we have ever seen. It is the defining issue of our time, and our generation is going to be most impacted by climate change. So therefore, our generation has the most at stake, and we have the most power in this matter. And so RISE is creating and building that platform and offering that support to young people around the world so that they can create the solutions that they want to see. Creating a concrete climate action plan And so it's going to be really amazing. We're offering this to youth all over the country, and we're really hoping to build a movement through this, because this is going to be the way that we can concretely get young people engaged, get young people involved, so that they know that they're making a difference, that they know that they're bringing forth the solutions. With your support, we're going to be able to train at least 500 climate solutionaries. And from there, it's only going to grow exponentially, because those 500 that we're trained are then going to train the next 500 and the next 500. And it's only going to keep growing like that, because our goal is not to create more followers. Our goal is to create leaders. Dealing with a problem as huge as climate change, as our environmental crisis, it's going to affect everybody. So everybody has to do something to build towards the solutions. You are a part of this right now by just watching this video, so thank you so much for your support.
Wasn't that amazing? Okay, now it's your turn. If you or someone you know is doing something remarkable to help our planet, let us know about it, and you could be our next eco defender. I gotta go. Want to keep up with our adventures? Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Aqua Kids will be right back.
I'm Jalen, and this is Earth Edition. When you learn to read and write, you learn a series of symbols that represent language that is used to communicate. The beginning of writing started long ago, 50,000 years ago, through a gradual process of the appearance of symbols. These symbols or graphic codes were used by ancient humans in the form of rock art, or petroglyphs and cave paintings. At first, these symbols were pictographic, representing an object, and then ideographic, representing an idea. The first forms of writing began with Egyptian hieroglyphs and Chinese characters. Each part of the world developed language and writing in their own way. And today, although the modern world has writing in many languages, symbols are still used to convey a meaning, like using an emoji when you're texting, and the universal picture signs you see on the highway for food, gas, and lodging. I'm Jalen, and this has been Earth Edition.
Welcome back to Aqua Kids. So as I understand it, before Conowingo Dam was built, some of the oldest petroglyphs were found in the river there.
They were, and luckily some of them were saved.
Let's go see what they look like.
Drew, why are we at the Conowingo Dam?
Well, I'm not sure what it has to do with petroglyphs, but let's go find out. Hey, Charlie, what are we doing here at Conowingo?
Well, Drew, when this dam was built in 1927, it was the second largest hydro project in North America, second only to the Niagara Falls hydro project. And it also flooded under 55 feet of water the Baldfriar Petroglyph site, which was about 2 miles upstream from this thing. Local folks got very, very excited about that and said, hey, something has got to be done. These petroglyphs have got to be rescued. And so the Maryland Academy of Sciences came in to rescue the petroglyph site, and they did that with dynamite. Yeah, these stones were huge, of course, just like the ones at Safe Harbor. And there was no way they were going to just pick them up and put them on a rock and move them. So instead, they got dynamite, and they got some folks who knew how to use dynamite. They blew the big ones into little ones, put them on boats, and trucked them to the side of the river, trucked them down to Baltimore City, where the Maryland Academy of Sciences had their headquarters building, and they refabricated these stones. They put them back together using a special Italian cement.
Where are they now?
They're scattered. There are 7 exhibits of the Baldfriar stones today throughout Maryland. One is in Baltimore City at the Maryland Historical Society headquarters building. There are 2 one in Havre de Grace, 2 in Bel Air, 1 in Elkton, and the newest one is at Susquehanna State Park, just downriver from here. I think that's where we're headed next.
Hey, Ranger Angie.
Hey, how are you doing today?
Great. So I noticed the petroglyphs are here of all places in an old mill. Why?
Well, this old mill is actually right along the Susquehanna River. So putting the petroglyphs here brought them back home. And it's also an important piece of history. Most of our history, especially around the mill here, started in the 1800s, in the 18th century. These bring it back a lot earlier than that.
So how much earlier?
As much as 3,000 to 4,000 years earlier.
So it's apparent that American history goes way farther back than the last few hundred years. And it's also significant that these petroglyphs are now near where they started.
About 7 miles upriver, but back to the Susquehanna River, so close and a very similar setting.
So the petroglyphs at the river were really recognizable, but these are really abstract. Why is that?
Well, the reason may be that they were carved by different people, different time periods, different spiritual meanings behind them.
And it's easy to forget that these were carved over thousands of years. Cultures could have changed.
Indeed.
So Ranger Angie, what can folks at home do to help with projects like these?
Carly?
Drew, one of the things that people can do is to just go out and explore the amazing history that are in their communities and protect those for future generations. One of the very, very important ideas in many Native American cultures is protecting resources for 7 generations to come. And now it's our task to protect these for future generations.
It's been great exploring with the Aqua Kids today and sharing these ancient stories with the new generation.
The Aqua Kids are terrific in working with these young people that are so excited about these old rocks.
Lily, what an amazing day full of history and knowledge. What impacted you most?
That there's so much more to American history than the last couple of hundred years. It goes back thousands of years.
That's right. You know what impacted me most is that it all goes back to wildlife. See, the Native Americans followed the wildlife to this place right here where they could create a cultural center and they could tell their story using petroglyphs on the rocks. And remember, it's up to you to keep it green and blue. Help protect our planet, and we'll see you next time on Aqua Kids.
Bye.
Aqua Kids, doing what we have to do. Saving our earth, land, air, and sea. All we gotta do is keep it green and